The second view has always been towards an integrated European Union. That's why those phrases, an ever closer union, were put in the Treaty of Rome, not clothed with meaning. We always had the assurance to which my noble friend referred, always an assurance we'd keep our identity and our veto. Then gradually, little by little, it went, and everything came in stages. Whatever you said in the community, it had to be the first stage of something which led to one destination, a European Union. You didn't have any other alternative. You're either on a slow train or a fast train, but you're on the train to that destination. And if you don't want to go to that destination, it doesn't matter at what speed you go. You don't want to be on it at all. Now, I suggest we don't want to go any further on that train. Everything is a stage. I remember when we put forward the hard ECU in the Council of Ministers as a possible common currency. Yes, they'd consider the hard ECU, but wouldn't I tack onto it as a stage towards a single currency? No, I wouldn't. It is a simple staging, this same destination. And this is what Maastricht is all about, that destination, and it very nearly gets there. If you look at the 1972, when we went in, the assurances and the referendum assurances, they're all fair, they're all there for everyone to see. Some additional comments on the Maastricht Treaty. It starts in very clear terms. By this treaty, the high contracting parties establish among themselves a European Union. This treaty marks a new stage in the process of creating an ever closer union. There it is, straight out. A new stage, a very important, big step, because it creates a new political entity, something we've never had before. It creates a European Union. The article later, Article 8, creates a citizenship of the Union, something totally new. It establishes it. It applies to every person holding the nationality of a member state. The article refers to rights and duties and spells out the new rights which can be extended. Moreover, surely, if there's a citizenship, we would all owe a duty of allegiance to the new union. What else is citizenship about? And the duty to uphold its laws. What will happen if the allegiance to the Union comes into conflict with allegiance to our own country? How will the European Court find then? The Maastricht Treaty gives this new European Union all the attributes of a sovereign state. May I just quickly go through them? What are the attributes of a sovereign state? First, the citizenship. It gives it the right to conduct foreign policy and assert its identity on the international scene. The whole of this treaty has that. The right to frame a common defense policy, which in time could lead to a common defense. The treaty has that. It has its own Supreme Court of Justice, the guardian of its constitution. It has its own external boundaries. It manages its own economic and monetary policy. It will have its own central bank, ultimately including a single currency, hopefully not including us, although we've signed up to the idea of a single currency. It has a single market. It conducts its international trade negotiations as a unit. We have no authority to conduct trade negotiations. We lost that in 1972. We have signed up to the objective of a high level of social protection. And I wonder if the social chapter will be brought in to apply to Britain by the European Court, because we have signed up to that high level of social protection. There's an embryo government in the Council of Ministers, the European Council. There's an executive in the Commission, and there's an elected European Parliament. All of this is the single institutional framework to which the treaty refers. My lords, the voluntary alliance of 12 nations we joined is being gradually turned into a new political entity, a European superstate. And I doubt very much whether the people realize what is happening. Unification is supposed to be the natural direction of development. The review promised in 1996 by the treaty is always a relaunch of the treaty. You've got to be one stage, it's always a relaunch. Well, there's now both a relaunch and a review. The review of 1996 is in the treaty. It's not an open review. As Article N points out, that review must be in accordance with the objectives of an ever closer union, which are set out in Title I. I must say, my lords, I personally could never have signed this treaty. I hope that that is clear to all who have heard me. The bill will pass considerable further powers, irrevocably from Westminster to Brussels, and by extending majority voting, will undermine our age-old parliamentary and legal institutions, both far older than those in the community. We have so much more to lose by this Maastricht Treaty than any other state in the European community. It will diminish democracy and increase bureaucracy. Monsieur Delors knew well the importance of his words when he spoke to the European Parliament in 1988. 10 years hence, he said, 80% of our economic legislation, and perhaps even our fiscal and social legislation as well, will be of community origin. He went on, and this isn't so generally known, in 10 countries, though, we were excluded, there has been no realization of this. And in these same 10 countries, there's no cooperation between European parliaments and national parliaments. And then he went on. What I am afraid of is that some of those national parliaments are going to wake up with a shock one day, and that their outraged reaction will place yet more obstacles in the way of progress towards the European Union. The national parliaments are entitled to have an outraged reaction. They will soon be little more than an agency for the Commission and for the European Council. Finally, the referendum. My lords, no elector in this country has been able to vote against Maastricht. None. It has been impossible to do so. And I think when one looks at the extent of the powers that are being handed over, it is disgraceful if we deny them that opportunity. Yet we waited, I must say, with bated breath for both Danish referenda. They, poor people, were bullied out of their first decision. So much for the unanimity rule. Further, in the other place, less than half the honourable members voted for the treaty. The electorate haven't been able to vote. Half the honourable members in the other place, less than half, 292 out of some 650, voted for the treaty. We are in the Rome Treaty. We are in the Single European Act. We stay there. I believe that to hand over the people's parliamentary rights on the scale of the Maastricht Treaty without the consent of the people in a referendum would be to betray the trust as guardian of the parliamentary institutions, of the courts and of the Constitution, to betray the trust they have placed in us.